today we got to play Luxor. So this is an Egyptian-themed game. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because Randy needs a little pick-me-up. He needs a little...
I think it's more to do with knowing that the impending invasion is coming from all of the family this week.
Yeah, so do us all a favor. Make Randy feel good. Press the subscribe button.
Yeah, I'm going to be cowering in fear in the bed.
I mean, and if you've already subscribed, just hit the like button. It gives them a little bit of feel-goodness. So, all right, so let's actually talk about this particular game. Randy, so obviously I see it's from Queen's Games. What else you got for me?
It was released in 2018. It has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.2 and a Board Game Geek rank of 864. It plays 2 to 4 players, and it lasts average of 45 minutes, which is probably about right.
Okay.
Ages were 8 and up, which Szara played, and she had absolutely no problem playing it.
Yeah, and so
I got a little confusing on the cards, but that's just because I didn't read the rules.
Well, the specialty cards. That's where she had a little bit of issue, but as long as you got some other people, once she was told what the card did, she did fine. So
designed by Rudiger Dorn, and art was Dennis Lohausen. Published again by Queen Games. It is still in print, or still available anyway. It has an MSRP of $64.99, which is pretty steep for what I think. This is
kind of steep. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's not what you can generally buy it for. Amazon's got it for $46.33. You can find it on the Geek Market for $33. So it's out there at a more reasonable price.
Right, more manageable. Okay. All right, so let's talk about quality of pieces. Now, I understand that we have upgraded.
Well, yeah, we got the Queen Games with all of the deluxe add-ons, so we have like 5 or 6 different Queenie expansions for this, and then we've got what they consider upgraded pieces, which I don't consider upgrades at all. They have these. Everything's cardboard except for the meeples, which the meeples are custom in this, which is pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah, but like regular meeples.
But the cardboard keys that look kind of like onks, and the sarcophagus or sarcophagi, whatever the plural is for that, were cardboard. They replaced them with these really vibrant orange wooden pieces they had stickers for the sarcophagus and for the first player token, but the keys just are wooden onk-shaped bits with no stickers at all.
Yeah,
Not that I'm a sticker fan, but this is just meh, really meh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that wasn't an upgrade. That was waste.
Yeah, we didn't even play it with them. We used the cardboard.
The fact that they didn't even have stickers, they're not good. I would have. Yeah, we ended up using the cardboard, and that was fine.
As far as the card stock, there's no linen finish. It's slick, and they're good thickness.
Yeah.
They did curl a bit on first shuffle. The cardboard's good. It's got a nice thickness, and it's linen finished.
That's where they put their money.
Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, 5.25. I mean,
if that, I'm probably gonna go 5 on this one because there's so much detracting. I mean, I've never been a fan of the vibrant Queen Games color schemes where they just pure red, pure green, pure blue, pure white. Yeah, I'm sorry, pure yellow, pure purple sometimes, and pure orange because it just contrasts so much from the game. I mean, you're playing in ancient Egypt. You don't expect these vibrant colors.
Well, part of me is like, it almost feels like they took some random pieces that they already had and put it with this stuff. And it feels like 2 separate games.
Apart from the meeples looking kind of Indiana Jones-ish, I would agree.
A little hat.
Yeah, so maybe a 5.25 just because of the meeples. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so now what's your favorite piece on the board, Szara?
I think mine's the little hat because it also looks like
it's not a hat,
Mexican.
Sarah.
It looks like a little hat at Mexican.
Sombrero.
Yeah. And I think that's funny and I think it's cool.
Okay.
All right. So now then let's talk about theme. So we are obviously in an Egyptian tomb and we're trying to go through and collect different sets of treasures. And so there's definitely some, art that's theme related, but I couldn't say the theme's very, very strong.
No, it's definitely a layered on theme. It's not you are going in and collecting things. As far as it could be anything you're collecting, but in this case, you're exploring a pyramid. So it makes sense with the spiraling shape of it. I mean, this is a pure, in essence, roll and move game, except for that you play cards to move instead of rolling.
But sometimes you can't get a roll.
Well, yeah, sometimes the cards will let you roll, so in that point it becomes a pure roll and move. So, this is, I would call a transitional game, probably, from a traditional game to kind of a, modern Euro or...
I mean, well, I wouldn't go maybe that far. It is a transitional game. It ups your game just a little bit. Like, if you're very accustomed to Monopoly or Trouble, things where you just roll and you move, this might be a good segue for people to kind of understand a little deck building, or not deck building, but card component with a little bit of strategy.
It's not really resource, it's
set collection. So, I mean, there's some set collection in here. So that might help some entry-level gamers to kind of get some of these concepts. So theme for me, though, giving it a score, 6. I say that question mark because I'm being very generous over here.
I think that is generous. I don't know if I can break into the 6th level. I think it's more of a 5.5 at that.
Really, I was trying to be on the nice side, but... Yeah,
it's just very weak as far as,
because the thing is like the art's okay on the background, but then you have these bright colored meeples, and so it does detract. It separates you from this theme, and so that's kind of rough sometimes, I think. What do you think of the theme, Sissy?
I think the theme is really cool, and I would give it a 7.
Oh, you like the Egyptian theme?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like Egyptian theme too. This just didn't really shine with it.
I agree with you with the meeples. The blue is for sure a bright one. And the red.
Yeah. You could probably got it away with green, been okay. But so let's talk about then. So you gave it a 7. I
5.
was being very, or no, 5.
5.5.
You were 5.5. You were a 7. I was barely a 6 with hesitation. So then let's move on to rules. You seem to have read them pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, the rules are 8 pages long, which these Queen games always have the same style of rule book, which is fine. I like when you get standards like that. There's no cover. It's just straight into the object and the components.
Which is something that you don't particularly care for.
I like to have covers, yes. I like it to look like a book. The setup is 2 pages, and it's got all the details you need to get it set up very easily. I like the way the Queen does section their rule book, so they have it nice, but it's very colorful. This game is so simple. It didn't take much to get it, but I think this is maybe overkill for what you needed for the rules for this game. But there is absolutely no confusion. Once you read the rules, you will know how to play the game.
Well, I mean, heck, you read the rules. I didn't listen, and I seem to get it just fine. Although it took me middle of the game to realize I was doing sets, not all of one kind.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were doing it right, and then you were supposed to
get as many of a kind as you could.
Yeah. See how much of the necklaces.
Yeah. So, but all right. So
the rule book is very busy, and for the simplicity of this game, I think it's a little overcomplicated. You probably could have gotten the same effect out of a 4-page rule book for this game as in this case it took 8. I'll give it a 7. I think it's fine. It's just I think it's a little over convoluted for what you need for this complexity of a game.
Okay. All right. So then let's talk about gameplay. So this gameplay is actually pretty straightforward. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have workers down here at the starting entry. And so then you have 5 cards in your hand. If you'll notice, so you're not allowed to sort the cards. Once they're in play or once they're in your hand, they have to stay in this order. Okay. So what happens is you can play the one on your left side or the one on your right side. And those are the only 2 cards that you have the choice to play. So in this particular instance, I'm going to say I'm going to move 5 because the game's about to end, and I'm really far behind. So I'm going to choose the 5. So I'm
you're playing with my color, which...
Well, whatever. Well, I didn't want me to lose.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to move 5 spaces. Now, the spaces only count for tiles that are actively there. So as you go about this adventure, tiles get removed. But just so you're aware, you're only counting those tiles. So in this particular case, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and then I trigger that action, okay? And we'll go through the actions in a minute. So then I only have 4 cards on my hand. That's a problem. So I'm going to take another card.
At the end of your turn.
At the end of my turn. So depending, there are some things that give you cards. Then I'm going to put it in the middle, okay? And so as you go, you can get things closer to the one side or the other.
Upside down in the middle.
I can't see. It's okay. All right. So that's how you end your turn. Now, as far as tile triggering, there's a couple of things that you have. So most of the tiles are, in fact, what are these called? Artifacts? Treasure tokens, okay? And you'll notice that there is a victory point with the scarabs up top. You'll have the picture of the kind of item here, and then you'll have a set number of workers. They range from 1 to 3. Now, you have to get that many workers on this tile for you to be able to take the tile, right? So, obviously, for example, like this is...
Of your own workers.
Of your own workers, correct. So, for example, this one only takes 1, but it's only worth 1 victory point. However, this bad boy needs 3 workers, and they're worth 5 victory points. So that's actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that looks like. And then you also have these yellow ones here. Now, if you'll notice, there's these hieroglyphics. Yeah, eyeball hieroglyphics up here at the top. That tells you what pile. So you have 2 options here on this tile. You can either take a card from the specialty card section. You have to choose from the 3 level. So you can take the one on top, or you can take, in this particular case, a key. Now you need a key. Keys are worth 1 victory point, but you also need them to go into the where the sarcophagi are.
Inner sanctum.
Yes, to the inner sanctum. Okay. All right. So that's that. One of the other tiles that are available are just these arrow options. So if you land on this, you just get to move the movement that the number is located on.
Yeah, personally, I thought those were a waste. I don't understand why they decided to put those in there, because all you're doing is moving always that number of spaces forward. So
you kept landing on the same tile.
I mean, it helps you get further into the pyramid, I guess, but it just felt like this is like a throwback to the old days of board gaming, where you move on a space and then you move further.
Yeah.
It didn't really serve much purpose.
All right. And then the other options that you have are these purple tiles. Now, these purple tiles have different abilities. You have one that lets you tunnel, so it lets you jump spots. Basically, think like Clue with the passageways.
Well, those tiles don't start on the board. Those tiles start off of the board, and then as you take treasures, once you reveal the icon, then you will place one of them on the board.
Correct. So you have those, and then the other tiles that pop up again are like this particular tile, and it gives you a scarab. Now, scarabs are worth 1 to 4 victory points.
1 to 5.
1 to 5 victory points. So those can be very beneficial. Also, you have one here that allows you to get one of these tokens here. Now, these tokens are fantastic because they're basically a wild for your set collection. So this will help even out some of your sets, which can be very helpful. And then you also have these other purple tiles that just let you get additional cards. So just kind of being aware of that. I think that covers all the tiles.
Did we talk about the portals or the doorways?
Yeah, we did talk about that, like hallways, like include. All right, so then finally towards the end of the game. So also do notice that there are victory points around the board. Wherever your explorers ended up landing at the end of the game, those are victory points for you. So obviously, I will say, as you go up, they increase. However, there are spots that have 0.
Yeah, which I didn't pay attention to until the very end of the game, and had like half my people sitting on 0s, and I had to move them really quickly.
Yeah, so just being aware of that. So there are a couple of 0s out there, so you just want to pay attention. But at the end of the goal, you're trying to get your explorers in this alcove.
Well,
but to get in there,
as far as you can, and get the most benefit of collecting treasures along the way.
Correct.
Because you could do a race to the finish, but you wouldn't score very high.
Correct. Well, and not only that though, but once 2 people get in, the game ends, so it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But they get the most victory points of where their people landed at the end of the game.
That one has 13.
Yeah. So you just kind of have to you have to weigh your options. But to be able to get in here, not only do you have to key, you have to roll or get the number exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have overage. So if you're 3 spaces away, you have to have a 3 card, or you have to have rolled a 3 on a dice card or something like that to be able to enter there. So just kind of keeping that in mind. I think that's pretty much it, right, for this game?
Yeah, it's a very simplistic move your person and collect stats game.
But also when you pass that, you
have 3. Yeah, you have 3 of your workers start the game locked, and as you move through, you will unlock them once your first person passes one of the spaces. So one of them is pretty deep into the pyramid. So you do have it does behoove you to at least race one of your guys up there far enough to collect your other guys.
I mean, there is one card that if here, and then your last one would be here, so you can just teleport it right there.
Yeah,
too. That's a card.
There's a card. Some of the specialty cards that let you catch up pretty quick.
Yeah, so I wouldn't feel too concerned if it didn't make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So overall, though, this is a pretty light game. I thought as a family, this was actually a fine game.
Yeah,
and it wasn't.
It was a good game.
It was a good
play with Szara.
Yeah, it was. What did you think, Sarah? Because this one's really about you. Did you really enjoy it? Would you play it again?
Yeah, I would totally play it again. I just would probably want more players, which is.
Well, you can only play 4.
I know. But
we had 3, so you only want more.
Yeah, but I really do like this game. I would totally play it again, and my score would probably be 9.
Wow, you really like this game. That's great. I'm not going to be as generous as Sarah, but I do think that this is a fine game. This is, it gives you a little bit more when you're playing with some of the younger people. Yeah, the youngness of the family. So I'm probably going to give this a 6, maybe 6.5. What do you think?
I'm probably at 6.5 on this, mostly because there are expansions to add to it, which we have a ton of additives that we can put on here to make it more, at least a deeper game for us.
Okay.
So there's growth with this. I like the fact that it's something we can play with Szara. That's the main reason I'm giving it points. The gameplay itself, I found to be okay. I don't really like roll and move type games anymore. I mean, we play them occasionally, but not very often.
They just seem so
1970s, 1980s.
Well, it's just there's just so much other games that have so much more depth and strategy. It's really hard to come back to yesteryears.
And these spaces really bother me. They remind me of Bonkers, which actually we have, and we will be playing one day in our. When we go to the vault of the archives, Randy's archives. So we'll definitely be getting that one out eventually. But it's just they seem so pointless in this game. I didn't understand why they took up 4 spaces on the board.
Well, I mean, it's just they're just essentially to move you forward.
Yeah.
But the thing that I don't like is these always end up having you land on these yellows. And that's so freaking annoying.
That was just coincidental.
How do you figure? Because every single time there was nowhere except for this one here. 1, 2, 3.
That's just because of the luck of the drop. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Well, no, because these are put exactly where.
These are random. There's 2 that were left out. We shuffled them and we put them down.
But these
I don't necessarily know, because then you end up with 1, 2, 3.
Well, that's just because these tiles were taken. I mean, it's all coincidental.
Well,
but yes, it did happen that a lot of them all pointed to the yellows. But because
the
yellows are permanently on the board.
Yeah, well, that's my problem. Well, that was something that in the middle of the process, I was just like, this is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you're going to give this a 6.5?
Yeah, I like the fact that it does have the set collection as an option. I like that it's kind of almost a point salad game. You have a lot of ways of scoring in this. You have I scored a lot off the scarabs. You scored off the sets. Szara scored by rushing up and getting into the sarcophagus because, I mean, she was way behind point-wise, and suddenly she was right up there with us because she got so many points.
She beat me, okay?
Yeah,
like, this wasn't...
Just from
by 2.
where you were looking. And I like the fact, I didn't even pay attention to those zeros on there, but I like that they were there because that added another level of strategy. It's like, oh, well, crud, I'm still, the game's almost over, and I've got people sitting on spaces that aren't going to score me any points. I have to move them. So, I focused my last few turns on just getting on the point spots.
I really wish you wouldn't have noticed those.
Yeah. So that's what gave me the victory was the scarabs and making sure I got off those spaces.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how strong the scarabs were. Because there were a couple times I was like, oh, I don't want to land on a scarab, and I tried to land on other stuff, and I'm thinking back on it now. I'm like, well, why did I do that?
Well, it depends on what you draw. I mean, I had a 1, but I also had a bunch of 4s. So.
Well, but then at the same time, so each set is typically worth 3 to 5 until you get to 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And so, but it takes 2 to 3 workers, or it takes more than that. It takes at least 3 workers because you get at least 3 tiles. So, yeah, there's some victory points here, but it was, and especially if you're going for if you use these a lot, you would have been, I would have been better off going to the scarabs.
Yeah, I think you were lured into that 5 at the very beginning, and that cost you a lot of actions because
it did.
Yeah, there was when we played. There coincidentally happened to be one that required 3 workers right at the very first spot, and we start with 2 workers. So you had to unlock your worker, get them to spawn back, but then you had to unlock your second worker before you could really get it because you already had the one that was too far out collecting your other worker. So you had to basically collect 2 of your workers before you could move any of your other ones.
Right. Well, the thing is I had a hand of 5 ones.
Mm-hmm.
It was a problem.
Yeah.
That also killed me is that first initial draw. I had all 1s, and I was like, what is this?
Well, I got lucky at the very beginning and had 2 of the same number. I had 2 3s at my 2 ends. So I was able to immediately collect the treasure by just moving and landing on it. And so...
Yeah, I mean, I would like to play this again now that I kind of know it. When Szara wants to play again, it will be one that I'll be like, okay, I need to figure this one out. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. Thank you, guys. Bye! Bye!